Well, thank you for joining us today for our Stay Sharp webinar, Fit Body, Fit Brain. Before we begin, I wanted to give, or rather, Steve is going to give us a Stay Sharp program update.
Could you advance, Lisa, please? Thank you. So just before we get started, just knowing from the list of names, many of you already know about our Stay Sharp foundational coaching program, but for those of you who don't, or for those of you who do, you might think about who you might want to refer or who in your life would be a good participant. Just want to tell everybody a little bit about it. So the foundational coaching program is really for anyone who's interested in taking that next step for their brain health. And we've constructed a program that helps you take that step in a sustainable way with support that's really going to create lasting change rather than that kind of spark of change that I know I've often felt when making change in my life. And then, you have some initial success and then it kind of fades away. We've really proven that this program can create lasting change in people's lives. And then we have the structure afterwards if you want to join another program to continue with support. So what is the actual program? You work with a coach and a group. So you have 2 individual coaching sessions at the beginning and the end of the program. And that's for you to get to know your coach, for your coach to get to know you, and for both of you to work together and collaborate on a plan that's going to help you make brain healthy changes, but really brain healthy changes that you are ready to make and that you want to make. The coaching process is not prescriptive. It's not saying, here is exactly what you need to do, follow this program. It's a supportive environment that makes the changes that you're ready to make and that are brain healthy accessible. And then there's 6 group coaching sessions. So that's where you're working with a small group of up to 5 other people, 6 people max, that are trying to make these changes along with you. And honestly, the group support and the community in those groups is one of the most valuable things that we hear from our participants. Being around other people making changes, experiencing similar things, maybe having similar stumbling blocks and solutions. It's very helpful, and there's a lot of coaching and information that happens in those sessions as well to make sure that each change is long lasting. And then finally, you have access to a comprehensive manual and workbook to support the program, a cognitive assessment that you can take at the beginning and end of the program, and then on an ongoing basis, if you so choose. That's optional, so don't let that be a barrier if you don't want to take a cognitive assessment. It's kind of an add-on wonderful tool if you are ready to do that. And then a whole slew of educational resources for anybody who's really interested in running far with as much material as you want. And if you ever want more, we can certainly do that, but you don't have to dive super deep into the resources. I want to stress this is really the sole focus here, and the goal is to make change in your life. And it would be a great step to take after this webinar that Lisa is going to present. And then Lisa, if you could advance one more. Final piece is just, we have another one of our Brain Health 101 Preventing Cognitive Decline workshops coming up June 22nd. So if you're feeling inspired by this webinar, or you're thinking about that July foundational program, but you want to learn a little bit more about that, feel free to ask me questions at the end of this. But that Brain Health 101 is a good overview of all the different lifestyle factors and brain healthy changes you can make. Like less of a deep dive like today's going to be, and more of going a mile wide and an inch deep. But that would be a great kind of introduction to what is in that Stay Sharp foundational program. So hopefully we see some of you in the program, and hopefully we see some of you again on Thursday, June 22nd. And with that, I will pass the reins back to Joan and enjoy Lisa's wonderful presentation.
So thank you again for joining us for Fit Body, Fit Brain. I would like to note that the information in this presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Our information is intended to empower individuals, their families, and healthcare professionals who want to collaborate in the most effective ways on this journey to health and well-being. Please see a licensed, qualified medical professional for your medical needs. So I'd like to welcome and introduce our speaker, Lisa Snow. Lisa is a certified personal trainer and founder of On the Mend Customized Fitness. They specialize in older adults at all fitness levels, from seniors who are still playing golf and tennis to those with walkers and wheelchairs. Clients may be living on their own with home care or in assisted living. A graduate of NYU, Lisa is certified by the American Council on Exercise, National Strength and Conditioning Association, and the National Personal Training Institute. Lisa lectures at law firms, medical offices, and businesses throughout New York City and the tri-state area. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box and we will answer them during the Q&A at the end of the presentation. So welcome, Lisa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. We have been working one-on-one and in groups with older adults for the past 15 years, in person and on Zoom. So as we're going through this today, this isn't just theoretical stuff from the research. These are things that we've actually tried out with real clients and with ourselves. A lot of my team have sports backgrounds themselves. I'm a former gymnast. Over the years, we've had team members who are pro baseball players, who are professional dancers. So between all of us, we've pretty much injured and rehabbed everything on ourselves multiple times, in addition to working with many clients in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. We've had clients 100. So we're really talking about exercise programs that are safe and effective, even for people significantly older than a lot of you guys. So excited to be here and really explore how to have a fit body and fit brain. So we want to talk about living your best life and really giving you the tools to strengthen your brain, because there's so much of this that really is in your control. So you guys have been to many Sharp Again presentations and probably know some of this already. But as we know, there's tons of different causes of memory loss, whether that's Alzheimer's, that clearly has a genetic component, but lifestyle changes still make a huge impact. And we know that some of these are physical issues in the brain. And so we think, how could exercise possibly help with this? Right? We know that with Alzheimer's, there's the beta amyloid plaques. We know that and it's a gradual process over time. Vascular dementia, we're really looking at blood vessels in the brain potentially being a little bit damaged or narrowed or not getting enough oxygen to the brain. Sometimes we have clots that may go and clog smaller blood vessels. Arteries can break, all kinds of structural things happening in the brain. And so we think, how on earth could exercise really help with this, either from a prevention standpoint or in terms of doing the best we can and feeling the best we can once we already have some of these things going on. So there's so many other causes of memory loss. As you guys know, there's Lewy body dementia, post-stroke patients, memory can be an issue, temporal dementia. Many people have a combination of multiple things called mixed dementia. But one of the biggest risk factors for all of these different things is really being sedentary. So why on earth is that? We're going to be looking at, safe, effective exercise plans for not just a fit body, but also a fit brain. And there's a couple of reasons why exercise helps. So one is that exercise just helps increase blood flow to the brain. And that's not just cardio, that's any kind of exercise, whether that's cardio, weights, yoga, Pilates, etc. The more we're moving, the more we're getting our heart rate up, the more we're getting oxygen and nutrients into the brain. The other thing with exercise is that many forms of exercise force you to actually learn and remember new information. So if we're dancing, now we've got choreography we've got to remember. If it's Tai Chi, we've got to remember those forms. If we're lifting weights, Maybe we've got to remember that, a side raise might be 2 pounds and a bicep curl might be 5 pounds, or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of learning that comes with that. And when people think about working the brain as they get older, they're thinking about things like crossword puzzles and Sudoku, and all those things are great. But don't forget that your workout plan is also a workout for your brain. So some of the benefits of having not only a fitter body, but also a fitter brain, we're reducing risk of dementia even in people that have genetic risk factors. Some of the research around this is fascinating, and I really encourage you guys to dig into this after the talk. Exercise also makes us more mobile, which means we're more able to get out and do things outside the house, which leads to more brain use, right? There's not a lot of brain cells that we need to sit in front of a TV for 12 hours a day. But if we're getting out and we're driving a car, we're ordering Ubers, or we're taking a bus or taking a subway, all those things are a workout for your brain. And if exercise gives you the energy to go out and do those things, that's huge. Another issue for a lot of seniors we've worked with, we see lots of people who've recently finished physical therapy for an injury. We also see lots of people who are living with chronic pain, and exercise isn't a pain treatment, but it can potentially reduce pain. As you stretch more and move more, the more you do, the more you can do. And of course, obvious other physical health benefits, right? Whether that's improving blood pressure, resting heart rate, and so forth, just being healthier overall. Now, exercise also really increases size of gray matter in the brain, right? Frontal lobe areas that help with memory, attention, increases white matter, helping with that right-left brain integration. And some research shows that exercise also helps increase brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Now, just because that's lower in Alzheimer's patients doesn't mean that increasing it means that you can't ever get dementia or Alzheimer's, but it just means we're reducing your risk. And that's really what we're talking about in general today. So we know how important the hippocampus is for memory. And what's fascinating is that when they've looked at older adults who are more active, who are sweating, who are getting their heart rate up, who are getting out of the house and doing things, what we're seeing is not just that we're maintaining the brain, but that even at those older ages, we can still build new blood vessels in the brain. We can still build new brain cells, and we can actually maintain, or in some cases even increase, the overall size of the hippocampus. So as we're getting more blood flow to the brain, it's not just helping us have energy and concentrate. We're actually putting more oxygen and nutrients in, getting more metabolic waste products out, and really improving cognitive function. So it's all fine and good to read about the research, but what can we actually do right now? Obviously, a huge piece is nutrition, but you guys have had so many phenomenal lectures on that. I'm not really going to dive into that. We're really going to focus more on the exercise piece. But the one thing on the nutrition I really wanted to make sure we spoke about was hydration, right? More water really does create a healthy brain. And one of the reasons for that is that dehydration actually mimics the symptoms of dementia. So not only with older adults, but even with people my age, if you're out for an entire day, not really drinking a lot of water, it's just hard to remember, where am I supposed to be? Which train am I supposed to get on? All these kinds of things. So obviously the most important thing, just plain water, right? Just drinking enough water. If you do want to use electrolytes, rather than doing something like a Gatorade or a Powerade that has lots of corn syrup and dyes, take a look at something like coconut water. It has a lot of naturally occurring electrolytes. There's a lot of electrolyte powder mixes that you can drop into water bottles. Ultima is one fun brand, but there's lots of great brands out there. But I would just really look for one without all of the sweeteners and all of the fake stuff. Another thing we hear a lot from our older clients is we get people with hip pain, knee pain, back pain, and they think, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be nice to not have that knee pain and not have to maybe run to the restroom quite so often. And so sometimes they're intentionally for intake. So that's a really good thing because that's really negatively impacting the brain and our ability to concentrate. So if really what's standing in the way of you drinking water isn't that you can't remember, it's that you're in too much pain, really think about home PT options, private pay with Medicare B. So really make sure that you get the care you need to get out of pain and be able to drink the water that you need to drink. So most research around exercise and dementia is really focused on cardio. It's not because cardio is the only thing that's effective or even the best thing, but cardio is easy to study. So something like strength training, there's a gazillion variables to really control for, but something like cardio, really easy to test. So a lot of research focuses on that. And if you're not doing any cardio, I would just start with a few minutes a day and just slowly work up to a little more time, maybe 45 minutes, a couple days a week. As we're going through this, just go ahead and drop in the chat for me. What kinds of cardio have you guys done? Has it been walking? Has it been other things? I'd love to hear from you guys. So take a second, drop that in the chat. We'll maybe read some of those out if you guys come up with some exciting things, but I'd love to hear what kinds of exercises you guys have been doing. So a lot of research really recommends cardio where you're getting to 60 to 80% of your max heart rate. And that's really the range that increases blood flow to the brain, where it's challenging, but it's not all out. So you just want to keep in mind, if you are going to use like a heart rate monitor or a Garmin watch or an Apple Watch or any of these cool fancy tools, before you just plug your numbers into a formula to figure out 60 to 80% of your heart rate, prescription meds affect heart rate tremendously. So if you are on medication, really check with your doctor what heart rate they recommend for you, because if you just plug the numbers into a standard formula based on someone who's not on meds, probably not going to be accurate. And especially for those of you guys that have friends and family with pacemakers, you don't want to push that heart rate too far out of the range of what they're recommending. What you guys are doing, hiking, I love it. That sounds like so much fun. Walking the dog 90 minutes a day. Oh my gosh, round of applause for Rebecca. Walking, elliptical, incredible. So yeah, some great cardio happening with you guys. Because obviously cardio is not just walking. It could be dancing, swimming, pickleball, tennis, golf, especially if you're walking around the golf course, right? Gardening, anything that gets your heart rate up, right? And honestly, whoever said the dog, I got to vote for that. Dogs are the world's best personal trainers. If you want something to force you to get out of the house and get some exercise, that's perfect. So walking, biking, hiking, rowing, some awesome stuff happening in the chat. So sometimes you just need to be able to do one chin up, one pull up. That's all he needs. So as we're thinking about, the things that older adults are doing in real life, probably not hanging from a cliff, but if you are down on the floor playing with a pet or playing with a grandkid, you do need the strength to get up once. If God forbid you fall, you've got to have the strength to get up once. So for our guy on the cliff, the person who could 20 times are both still hanging on the cliff. Person who got off was the person who could do one whole pull-up. So we really need to focus on strength. And for some clients, we really need to focus on reversing muscle atrophy, not endurance and being able to do 10 million reps. Making sense so far? So as we're thinking about strength training with beginners that are older adults, starting with a couple days a week and really looking at all major groups. So some arms, some legs, some core. This isn't bodybuilding. We're not going to do one day that's all biceps and triceps. And one day that's all quads and hamstrings. We're looking at every single workout being a little bit of everything. Probably starting with one set. So if you're going to try to do some chair squats and some bicep curls, it might start with one set of each, maybe working our way up to 2 or 3 sets over time. Really looking at lower reps, right? Maybe 8 or 12 reps. And that's such a common issue I see with older adults is, they'll think, well, this is pretty easy. I could probably keep going. I could probably do 40 reps with this 1 pound dumbbell, but that's not what we want to do. So starting with a few minutes a day, increasing it gradually. And when you're lifting, that needs to be challenging, but not painful. The whole no pain, no gain thing is not true. It's a myth. You guys are way too smart for that. So if things are hurting, maybe we need to look at doing the exercises with better posture, better form. But if you know you're doing something right and it's still bothering you, maybe that's an exercise to drop for a while and try again in a few weeks. And all for people, checking in with the local personal trainer, checking in with a physical therapist, finding out, hey, where's that pain coming from? What's going on? So strength training really is math. And no one thinks of it that way. People think of it as a sport. And it is a sport in a way, but there's a really strong mathematical relationship between how heavy something is and how many you can do. So if you were just taking a top out of the closet and the weight of that top and that hanger is almost nothing, you could do that 100 times and be okay. But if we're picking up something heavy, like a giant bag of cat food, maybe we could only do that once or twice, right? So that mathematical relationship between weight and reps is really true across all ages, from college athletes to folks in their 80s, 90s, and 100s. So lower reps, like 4 to 8 reps, is really focused on pure strength. So if you've never lifted before, you are not there yet. If you've done tons of lifting over the years, you're an advanced exerciser, no matter what age, you might be able to sneak in some sets of something that's a little bit heavier, but really low reps. When we're looking at 8 to 12 reps, that's all about building muscle. And as we've talked to clients in their 70s, 80s over the years, they're like, I don't want to build muscle. I don't want to bulk up. I don't want to look like a bodybuilder. But realistically, when we're talking about seniors, building muscle really is just reversing or delaying muscle atrophy that they already have or that they're already at risk for. So once we get into our 40s and beyond, especially if we're sedentary, we start losing a little bit of muscle every year. And some of that is due to aging, but most of it is due to the jobs that we have in the modern world, right? Most of us are not working 14 hours a day in a factory anymore. Most people aren't working on farms from sun up till sundown anymore. And even if we did those jobs in the past, if we're retired, we're not doing those things anymore. So when we think about exercise for muscle building, we're not talking about being a bodybuilder, a power lifter. We're talking about undoing that muscle atrophy that's been happening. As we're talking about 12 to 20 reps, some muscle endurance is good, but a lot of research seems to show that's a little bit less useful for some seniors. And if we're talking about something that's so light, you could do 25, 30, 50 reps. We're getting to the point that it's really not doing a whole lot for us. So really want to look at strength training to make real life easier. Most of our clients aren't lifting because they want to enter a weightlifting competition. They're lifting because they want to be able to carry a heavy purse, or they want to carry heavy laundry, even if they have cleaning help, right? You want to feel like you can. So many older adults that we've met get to the gym and they grab those 1 pound or 2 pound dumbbells. And if you have an injury or you have a disability and that's truly all you can handle, perfect. Start there. But realistically, most of the things that we have to lift in real life are way more than 1 or 2 pounds. So please don't believe me. Please don't listen to me. Please go home and use your scale. So if you still have a bathroom scale, don't use it to jump on every day and drive yourself crazy about your weight. Use it for some things in your environment. Ladies, if you have a big, beautiful handbag, put that bad boy on your bathroom scale. I bet it doesn't weigh a pound. I bet it weighs 5 or 10 pounds. If you have pet, think about how much they weigh. 8 pounds, 10 pounds, 30 pounds, who knows, right? Next time you go to the grocery store, even if you have your groceries delivered from Amazon, put that box on your scale. It's not a pound. So regardless of where you're starting from, we need to be able to lift things that are heavy enough that they really mimic what's in our environment. So if we're at the gym and we have our dumbbells and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I could do 60 of these, it's not heavy enough to challenge you. So it doesn't matter what an average chart says. It doesn't matter what a chart says the average man or the average woman your age can do. What matters is what's challenging for you and how many reps you can really do. The other thing with reps and sets is if you could start another set without waiting 30 seconds or a minute, that TheraBand or that weight probably isn't heavy enough for you. So you guys are fit, you're energetic, you're taking care of yourselves, you're going to things like Sharp again naturally. You can lift heavier than you think. So really be your own cheerleader, believe in yourself, and get out of your comfort zone, right? So heavier does not mean a 400-pound bench press. Heavier might mean if you've been doing curls with 2 pounds for a year at a class, maybe try 4, maybe try 5, but for less repetitions. So really want to hear in the chat, have any of you guys been doing any strength training? Anybody ever taken any silver sneakers classes or classes at a Y, a JCC, a community center? Have you done strength training on your own? Anybody had a personal trainer? Drop some thoughts for us in the chat. So while you guys are working on that. So really the takeaway from this is that 3 sets of 10 of something that's really challenging for you can be so impactful. That can help you rebuild muscle, maintain bone density, get stronger at real life activities, versus 1 set of 30 or 3 sets of 10 where you stop for like 2 seconds and you're really keeping going. So it's really 1 set of 30 is just not enough to really challenge yourself. So we've got some group classes, group yoga, love it. And that's a great transition into what we're talking about next. So, we love getting clients to stretch. We love teaching our own yoga classes. We love referring people out to other yoga classes, which we do all the time. And some of the benefits are really manages pain, right? Helping you get out and do other kinds of exercises, go live life. And people who are more flexible just get injured less. I know some injuries are from falls and other things, but realistically, no matter what the cause of the injury is, if you're fit and you're flexible, you're going to bounce back from that so much faster. And all of that muscle stiffness and joint stiffness that we feel, it's not from how many years old we are. It's how many years it's been since we were active. We've had clients in their 80s and 90s who stayed active throughout their lives, who were more flexible and more mobile than clients in their 50s and 60s who had never moved and never stretched. So really looking at nice, slow stretches. Maybe you're starting with 20 seconds, but working your way up. As you get more flexible and as you get more endurance, you may be able to hold some of those stretches for 30, 45, 60 seconds, right? So give your body time to adapt. As we get older, a lot of times we need to hold those stretches a little bit longer to really get the same benefit that we would have gotten doing those same stretches maybe in our 20s or 30s. So most important part of today is we want to hear your questions, but we're going to go through a couple of the questions that I get constantly from clients, adult kids, and a lot of our people are beginners. A lot of them are people 60s, 70s who've never been to a gym. Maybe they were doing some sports as a kid, maybe they were dancing as a kid, things like that. But as an adult, they really haven't done a lot of exercise. It's never too late to start. Even if you've done nothing over the years, which I don't suspect with this group after seeing the chat, but even if you have older parents or aunts and uncles who've never done any exercise, not too late. Find something you enjoy, find something they enjoy, right? If you are bored to tears walking on a treadmill, how about swimming some laps? How about water aerobics class, a yoga class? I never really understood the appeal of mall walk. I actually got brought in as a guest speaker to a mall walking group. And it was phenomenal just to see the energy and the social connection that people had. That is not just cardio. That's a place to make friends and get out and be with people. So that's phenomenal, right? Maybe it's a dance class. Then you're not just working exercise, you're working on hand-eye coordination, music, and that's a brain out right there. I want to try to include some strength, not only. And, dumbbells are great, but don't forget bands, right? TheraBands, tubing, all that kind of stuff can be phenomenal. And if you've never, ever done this before, it can be really hard to get started by yourself. So really think about classes, a personal trainer, lots of stuff at city parks and rec, lots of stuff at senior centers. So really see what's available in your community. A lot of these things are free. A lot of them are low cost. So see what your friends are doing. And if your friends aren't either, rope them in, get people excited. But exercise is a challenge though. What if I'm injured? What if I'm in pain? What if I think I can't work out? What if I can't get to a gym physically? So first thing we want to do is work around injuries. We get lots of clients that are currently in or have just finished physical therapy, occupational therapy. We work with lots of hip replacement, knee replacement clients. We've had folks who've sprained ankles. We've had folks who've come in with fractures and so forth. So you want to work around that. If it's leg injury, maybe we're doing arms, right? If you have a specific diagnosed injury, talk to your doctor, talk to your physical therapist. And they're going to want to tell you what you can't do because that's their job. They got to keep you healthy. They got to keep you safe, but they're going to tell you what the contraindicated exercises are. Really ask them what you can do. If they're telling you no overhead lifting, well, what other exercises could I do? If they're telling you no spinal flexion, well, can I do extension? Can I do a leg machine where my back doesn't move at all? Right? And write that stuff down. If you're going to the doctor, it can be a lot to remember. It can be overwhelming. So, bring a friend, bring a family member, bring the audio recorder on your iPhone, bring a notebook. Make sure you capture the specific things that they will let you do. If you're in physical therapy currently, or you have older family members that are in PT, doing that homework is so important. It's not just that you're doing during the session. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, doing that homework every single day versus just 2 or 3 days a week that you're in PT is just night and day. So if you have older family members and that's overwhelming for them, make sure they get some help, right? If you're an adult child, maybe do it with them. Get a home health aide to do it with them, a yoga teacher, a personal trainer, whatever the case may be. And you guys, obviously, you're hiking. I don't think you're homebound. I think you guys are crushing it. But again, older parents, older aunts and uncles that are homebound, tons of yoga teachers, personal trainers, physical therapists, occupational therapists make house calls. So ask around for folks in your neighborhood that do that if you know they need that support and you know they can't or won't or shouldn't be doing it by themselves. The other thing that people have always asked over the years, but even more so since COVID, is, do I need a gym membership? Do I need equipment? What if I can't get out and do those things? You do not need them. If you have one, keep using it. All for people going to the gym, all for people going to the yoga studio. But again, small bands kits like the ones in the photo or small weights kits, all of them are under 100, are under $50. Many individual bands are like 20, trying to give you some examples of what a band's kit might look like. And there are tons of stretches and strength training that can be done with zero equipment. So don't wait until you've got the money for that Peloton or that Bowflex. Don't wait until you've got empty space in your apartment for a treadmill. You want to get started as soon as you can. So today we're going to really look at some basic things you can do at home. You guys are rock stars. If you are very mobile and this is way too easy for you, take some of this back to your parents, your family. And I love that so many of you guys are on camera. It's always the worst when you get on a webinar and everyone has camera off and you're speaking into the void. So I love that you guys are here and participating. So I'd love to have you go through some of these things with us as we're listening along. So as we're going through this, stick with what your body will let you do. If anything hurts, just dial it back or pause, jump back in with us at a next exercise, but really want to spend a few minutes getting you guys moving before we jump back into slides. So I'm just going to pause my screen share for a second. And Joan, do you want to spotlight me for a second, my video feed instead of my slides? So for today, we're just going to do things for time. I have a little timer here on my phone, so we're not going to have to worry about counting reps or did we do perfect sets or reps, anything like that. But let's just start moving our heads side to side. Let's just try to get one ear closer to our shoulders and going back and forth. If it hurts, we're doing way too much. Just going to make this really gentle. And again, we don't need any fancy timer apps. I'm just using the free timer that came with my smartphone, but you could use a kitchen timer. You can use the timer on the microwave. You can use the timer on the stove. You don't need to go out and buy more stuff. Just need to use some of the cool tools that we already have. And just notice as you keep going, you're getting a little farther. So there's our timer. So we're going to try to look over one shoulder and the other. Not going to make you guys do any crazy cardio today because I know you thought you were going to get to sit and enjoy this lecture and not have me torture you the entire time, but on your own, we're going to get some cardio going. So we hear from a lot of older clients that if and when they stop driving and stop having to look in the rear view mirror, they stop doing this, and it just feels so nice to get that neck mobility again. And then we're just going to drop the chin to the chest and reach that chin up to the ceiling. If you're making yourself dizzy, you're just going a teeny tiny bit too far, just dial it back. And if that's easy, maybe you can get even higher. And then we're going to try to roll those shoulders back. So if you have friends or family who are doing nothing, a 5-minute stretch routine like this might be a great start. For you guys that are out hiking and playing golf and playing pickleball and doing all the things I saw in the chat, maybe this is a 5-minute warm up to something else that you're doing or a cool down. Let's see if we can get a big twist to one side. So if you have a seat of your chair or a chair back that you can hang on to, you can let it help you out a little bit. And let's try the other side. And then I won't be able to see it, but I will believe you. Let's do some marches in place. Let's lift those knees up. Get some blood circulating, some energy going. Halfway there. Can we go even higher? Let's do something that's going to really make us think. Let's try to reach both shoulders up. Try to go one arm back, the other arm forward. Some of my really advanced folks can do them at the same time. That even scrambles my brain. But let's try. Let's go one forward, one back. Takes a while to figure that out, right? So if you've gotten lost, start over at the top. Try to drop. Oh, I see the thinking going on. Trying to figure that out. I love it. Now let's take a look at a little bit of coordination. Let's see if we can go little toy guns with our fingers. So we're going to go one finger to the other thumb and try to switch and see how fast you can go. So let's see if we have a couple of light dumbbells or a couple of soup cans, we could follow along, or we could just do this with our hands. We definitely don't need equipment. So we're gonna see if we can make this a curl and then a front raise. Curl and then a front raise. So just getting some biceps, some shoulders, making those arms up a little. Again, we're not talking about 500-pound deadlifts, but these are 4-pound dumbbells, right? They're not ones. Gonna really challenge ourselves. Dumbbells or soup cans, flies. And if we have some bands, we could play with those. If we don't, we could just do these with our hands. Just flat TheraBands work great. I really love this particular idea. This is the CLS band from TheraBand. And what this is basically it's loops all along. So one of the things I find a lot, both for very, very short people like me, very, very tall people like some of our clients, and people with shoulder issues, is sometimes you get on a machine and you're like, it's just not meant for someone my size. This is kind of meant for someone with every size because you can adjust. But if you did have the loops, you could go hands through like this. If you didn't and you just had a flat TheraBand, you could just hang on to it, or we can just use our hands. So we're going to see if we can get a couple of reverse flies going. So either with our band or just with our hands, just going back and forth, opening up that chest, opening up the shoulders. Got straight elbows, just pulling those hands apart. You guys are really strong, so you might work your way up to more reps or up to 45 or 60 seconds. I'm just running a 30-second timer today. Just stretching those arms out. Getting some strength in those upper back muscles that we tend to neglect. So just gonna get back to a couple more slides. I'm gonna bring you guys back to my deck. So maybe we'll unspotlight me. So fitness is way more than just going to the gym. It can be home workouts like we were just showing now. It could be gardening, going to the store, groceries are heavy. Could be things like bowling or golf. And honestly, after over 15 years of working with older adults, the people who are doing the best are the people who are socially connected. I would love to sit here and tell you that the clients with the best health outcomes and best life outcomes were the ones who could lift the heaviest weights or do the most reps or walk that mile in the least time. Realistically, the people who are doing the best are the people who are still involved in the community, period. So exercise isn't an end in itself. It's really a tool to strengthen your body, strengthen your brain, so you can do all the other stuff that you want to do, whether that's reading to grandkids, whether that's going to the theater. You guys know, spend all my time and money going to Broadway. That's probably what I'll be doing as an older person, right? Zooming with friends, doing crosswords, just being plugged into community groups, whether that's faith-based, whether that's college alumni. So important. And I really think that's what your next session is going to be about. That's going to be really cool. And just want to hit you guys with some resources. If you really just read one thing, I really love Dr. Barnard's Power Foods for the Brain. It's not just nutrition. A lot of it is nutrition, but a lot of it is really understanding the differences between, let's say, Alzheimer's versus vascular dementia versus Lewy body and different things. He's a really, really user-friendly, not jargony explanation of that stuff. There's a ton about nutrition, and he really has some of the research about exercise and how getting blood flow to the brain really helps with everything, but especially with vascular dementia. 30-Day Alzheimer's Solution, fantastic book, 2 MDs. Obviously, the title does not mean 30 days to solve Alzheimer's. It means 30 days to build healthy habits, but just another beautiful book, lots of fantastic healthy recipes. For those of you that are struggling with balance or have older parents struggling with balance, Fall Proof is a really nice book. If you've never done lifting and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not 20, I'm not a bodybuilder, I don't know how to get started with strength training, this is a really nice reference piece. And this book, Yoga for Osteoporosis, it's not just for osteoporosis patients, really anyone over 60 who hasn't done yoga before. It's just a really nice, gentle routine. It's a yoga teacher and an MD who teamed up to write this, and they have a whole series about yoga for different health issues. So if you're looking for ones that are more around arthritis or scoliosis or other things, they have an entire series. It's fantastic. And so many of our older people are living with chronic pain. So Anthony Carey, not a physical therapist, more of an exercise physiologist, but again, beautiful book, very, very simple home exercises that you can do with little or no equipment. One of the most popular books out now is Outlive. It's a brilliant book. It's a ton of research. It's very advanced. If you're the person who's never, ever been to a gym, the program that he's outlining probably gonna be a little bit too much. But for those of you who are a little more advanced exercisers, or you have adult kids that really want to focus at a young age on preventing dementia and how exercise can be part of that, another fantastic resource is Outlive. So, most important part of today, we want to hear your questions. I know you guys have been chiming in the chat. Joan, I don't know if you got any questions from the audience, but please drop your questions in the chat and let's go through them one at a time.
I don't see any yet, but I have a question.
Please.
I need my knee replaced. So it's difficult, it's difficult walking on my treadmill, going up and down stairs. What are leg strength exercises that I might be able to do that wouldn't exacerbate my knee pain?
Ooh, great question. So first of all, I would think about, there's a difference between overall fitness and kind of prehab. So from an overall fitness standpoint, I would think about what kind of cardio can you do that doesn't involve your knee, right? Is there, could you swim? Is there a local gym where you could do like an upper body bicycle, or could you just do some circuit training with some TheraBands or some light? In terms of actual leg exercises, think about the single leg stuff you can do with the good leg. Because remember, once you or anyone has a surgery, you might be on crutches, you might be having a walker for a couple of days, right? So you're going to be putting a lot of weight on the good leg. So could you get some TheraBands and do, some leg extensions or leg curls or clamshells or things with the good leg? For the injured side, I would definitely check in with your PT or your surgeon, see what they will or won't allow you to do on the injured knee. There's so many different causes for knee replacements, but the biggest thing is just stay moving. Most people think surgery is scary, and it just makes them, we all humans, we have that fight, flight, or freeze, and for a lot of us that sends us into freeze. Yeah.
Well, I've had one hip replaced, and I tend to wait until things are so painful I start to cry. So I'm not crying yet.
So, but that means that it's awesome and you're doing prevention, right? You're getting ahead of this and booking it before you get to the point that you can't walk. So that's really important. Any other questions that you or Stephen hear a lot from participants around exercise? Anybody else in the audience today have any questions?
I don't see any more.
So I will leave this up for questions for another couple of minutes. Here's my contact info. Feel free to reach out to me with questions for yourself, for older family members. Thanks for coming. And don't forget, the next presentation from Sharp again is coming up in June. So get that on your calendars. And hopefully we'll see you guys then.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Lisa. This was marvelous. Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to be uploading our recording to our YouTube channel today. And I will send that link out with a recap of our programs and also the book list that Lisa shared with us today. If you have any questions, as Lisa said, contact her or contact me at Sharp Again Naturally. So thank you, and I'm going to stop our recording. Thanks.